Thursday, Sober Nation. Hey, Veronica, how are you?
Good. I'm actually waving to everyone else, like tuning.
It's one of those days.
Well, yeah, no, it's just I always like to do like my wave and just because sometimes people will like, not have their sound on and have no idea, like, they're just
Okay, I'll
listening.
wave too then. Hey.
No, do the intro, do the intro.
Okay, well, a happy Thursday night. It's another Thursday night. We're here every Thursday night. How are you tonight?
Well, I think this topic is definitely interesting because I have not been. So, for those of you who are just tuning in, and in case you didn't see the poll earlier this week, we're talking about spirituality and how to, I don't know, increase your spirituality or just like sort of, get a practice going or what people's different habits are. We know there are some agnostics and people who don't really believe in spirituality, and everybody finds something that they sort of, that works for them, which we totally encourage. It doesn't have to be God, it could be anything. So we just want to have a conversation tonight about what you guys do to nurture that spiritual side of your recovery. And yeah, so tonight is interesting because I've never been able to be consistent, no matter like how many times I like revamp it. Like I'll keep it going for like a couple of weeks or like a few days, but then I always fall off. So I'm definitely interested to see how people like what they do, what helps them, and how they keep it going. How about you? Like, what's your experience like?
Yeah, I mean, I think it just like depends on your definition of spirituality. That could be being one with yourself, or that could be, a higher power, or, going in and sitting by the beach, and that's your definition. So I think for me, it's a revolving definition. It's always changing.
Mm.
And I'm just going to say hi real quick to
Yeah.
Augustine.
Hi,
And
Augustine.
from Woodward, Oklahoma, and he's working on his spirituality right now. He says this is amazing. Sherry's here from California, so she says, great topic. I'm practicing a secular program, and she has 14 months sober. Congratulations.
Congratulations. That's awesome. Yeah, for those of you tuning in, let us know where you're tuning in from. And let us know, what you practice, what works for you, what you have going on. Because again, everybody, like we were looking at the poll and just like everybody's answers are, just so different. It's just so interesting to see. There's definitely like a lot of people who do a lot of the same, but then there's also like everybody has their own twist on things. So I can't wait to dive a little bit into that.
Right. We could talk about all sorts of different practices for spirituality. I mean, everyone has a different answer and a different approach. And so a lot of people, like one of the most popular comments on there was meditation.
Yeah.
And again, like the definition of spirituality, that could mean a number of things.
Yeah. Yeah, I think meditation is tough too because a lot of people say they can't meditate, but even if you like start out slow or small, it's just, I think, sort of the thought that counts. Do you meditate?
I try to meditate, and I often find that, my mind wanders, and I think a lot of people will find that, but
yeah.
For me too, like a meditation can be as simple as taking a walk, and just and I was like actually talking to someone about this yesterday about how, as a society and as with culture, I mean, we are so used to being so stimulated all the time.
Yeah.
Like being on our phones and being on our computers. And if we're not looking at one screen, we're looking at another screen. Mm-hmm. So I think that's just really important to kind of shut off for a little bit. And that can be a meditation in itself.
Yeah, for sure. And, I'd like somebody here in the poll, I'm looking at the poll answers, and William says prayer, meditation, and skateboarding. And I love that you just said that because I think, skateboarding, if you think about the sport or if you think about like any similar activity, it's not necessarily about like sitting down, on the floor and like doing a chant or doing a guided meditation. It's just when you zone out, and you're just sort of like not, in your head, like running, when you just sort of zone out and not really. And again, when I think about anything that you have to concentrate or you kind of just get to be in a moment,
Right.
I think so I love that you said skateboarding, because that in itself could be a practice. It's just really, it doesn't matter what you're actually doing. It's just whether or not you're being mindful of what you're doing and your intentions. Intent is
Right.
everything. So,
Right.
yeah, I agree with you. Like, even like not being on social media for like a day could be some sort of meditation for some of us. What are people in the comments saying? I can't read the comments, you guys, once again, but I see that you guys are showing up, so don't stop commenting.
Oh, we froze a little bit. Are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay. Well, Kate says, hey, from Memphis. For me, she likes morning readings and going to the rooms. Into the rooms, she hears her higher power and people.
Mm.
That's a good one. And I think definitely those morning readings, waking up a little extra early. I know I have like really bad trouble with that because I just like roll out of bed and go. But waking up a little extra early and just like dedicating some time to like self-reflection or just taking a time to do a little reading. What
Yeah.
have you ever done that?
Yeah, so I think especially like early in recovery, I used to read like the recovery literature, like the daily readings, and that was what I considered. And I know a lot of the people like that were like in my sponsorship family consider that a meditation, like just reading the morning reading and sort of reflecting on it, and maybe doing a quick prayer afterwards and starting your day. So I know that was sort of considered, in my sponsorship family was considered meditation time. But yeah, I used to love those readings because they always like would bring up, something, and would kind of, get something I hadn't even thought about, whether it was like recovery, life based, or just, anything. And, and it was something different every day. So I really enjoyed those. And I probably need to go back to doing something similar, because I've just been trying to implement different routines and nothing is really sticking.
Right.
And I'm going through just so many transitions in life right now that I'm trying to get something that can ground me, but nothing is sticking. So maybe I need to like go back to like the super basics and just maybe start out with like a daily reading and keep it simple.
Yeah, I know for me, like I read usually before I go to bed because I have trouble like waking up in the morning. I'm like definitely a night person. So even just like reading a book, or I've been reading like a self-help book right now. And so that really like helps me think. But let me see. Debbie says, I like to mow grass while listening to music. Try to relax and get away from all the hustle and bustle. I like that.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah. Hi, Susan. Hey, Brittany. And Maria says, I get on the floor every morning at home. I read my meditation books and just think about how I can be a better person each day. Yeah. I mean, that's really like, I think that's the gist of it.
Yeah.
Like, simple enough answer.
That's awesome. I mean, like, so when you got into recovery, Tori, like, did you have a hard time getting into like grasping this like whole concept of like, spirituality and like needing to like get something going? Did you feel pressured to like, because I know when I came in, like, I know so many people had routines going and there were things that were suggested. And I sort of like felt like, oh, I got to get something going on, to help me in my recovery. Did you sort of feel like I got this, or did you struggle with that a bit when you came in?
I mean, I definitely struggled with it. There's, someone said you have to meditate for 10, 15 minutes a day. And then like, or you have to pray, or you have to write a gratitude list. And that's actually another really good one. But I tried all these different things that everyone else was doing. And I just found that I like had to kind of take, kind of cherry pick from everybody and make my own type of thing. So, I mean, I live close to the beach, so I go to the beach, or I listen to like spiritual music in my car when I'm driving to work. But really just keeping it really simple.
Yeah, that works. Let me see what people in the poll were saying. And again, for those of you just tuning in, we're talking about spirituality and routines. So we want to hear from you and what you guys do. Do you pray? Do you meditate? Like, And what I want to also hear from you guys is how do you stay consistent? Because again, if you're just tuning in, I was talking about that. Like I'm having such a hard time staying consistent with anything like spirituality related. I wanted to like get back into yoga. I made like a little tracker to check off the days, and it's Thursday, and I have not checked off one day this week. Like that's
Wait, for what, yoga?
yeah, like I want to do yoga every week. And like I used to do, I mean, every day. And I used to do yoga every day at home. So I already know like the whole routine to, in my head, because I used to do it for a long time, but I've just had such a hard time getting back into it. And I made a little tracker for it, in my notebook, and just wanted to like check off the times this week that I did it. And I haven't done it once. I looked at the tracker today and I'm like, oh my gosh. So yeah, I want to know how you guys stick with your routines.
Priscilla is here, and she says she has 108 days clean. She's here from Houston.
Yay,
49 days sober today for her and her boyfriend.
That's awesome.
Congratulations. Ashley says she has 3.5 years. She's here to listen because sometimes she struggles with remaining sober. I need to learn to take a few minutes for myself. Absolutely. I think I know for me, if I don't take those few minutes for myself, like I go crazy.
Yeah, no, I hear you. And then back in the poll, Natalie said she meditates daily. She writes in her journal every day, and she goes to CrossFit. She says these are non-negotiable items. So I think there's something to be said about saying that and being like, this is non-negotiable. And I think maybe in my head, I know that it is negotiable, and I just kind of put it off. So I need to like trick my brain into like it being a non-negotiable.
I agree with you. I could definitely like use some non-negotiability in my life.
You're such good negotiators. I mean, I think everybody in recovery like is a good negotiator.
Yeah, but like I think negotiating, I agree.
It's in our DNA. Like
yeah,
we're probably some of the best negotiators and manipulators. No offense, but I'm just saying, like we're really good at it. So it's horrible because then we try to like, negotiate these things that we know are good for us, but we still kind of put it off. Like I know it would feel so much better if I did yoga for like a week straight, like not necessarily
to ourselves. It's like we do this to ourselves. Like, oh, let me like live in this pain for a little bit, right?
Yeah. And I think that just goes with anything, right? In recovery and even like trying to get sober. Like we know it's like what's right for us to do, but yet, it took us a while to get it, and then we just always like focus on the short term, outcome instead of like the long-term benefits or the long-term harm. We're just thinking about like how we're going to feel in the moment. And so, for example, I might feel like I don't really want to get up and do yoga right now. Like it's going to suck to get up and do it. And I don't think about the long-term benefits of doing that. I just think about the fact that like right now that would really suck, but maybe not.
I would feel good right now in this moment.
Yeah, exactly.
Gratification factor. And that does, like, I think too, practicing spirituality, it takes a lot of discipline for us.
It does. I'm not that good. I'm not very like I am just with some things. I have to be in order for certain things in my life to be successful. Like I have to be to some degree disciplined about some things. But then when it comes to self-care, I'm not,
Right. I can attest to that.
Yeah. So what are people in the comments saying? I kind of see the numbers increasing, but I can't see anything. I feel
so Augustine says he sometimes goes on a spiritual retreat with different people out in the wilderness.
That's awesome. I love retreats and like workshops and all that kind of stuff. That's super cool.
Yeah, I think I've been on one, but like I think definitely everyone should do one of those at some point in their life.
Yeah.
Eileen says she goes to 2 Bible studies twice a week in addition to regular meetings and outside help. Her triangle keeps her centered and meets my needs. Get the medicine via God's word. That way I learn what God's will is for me. I stay committed and it works for me. She has 30 years, not to brag, but she wants to give her testimony that it works.
Yay. No, that's 30 years. Oh my gosh, that's a lifetime. Congratulations. It's clearly working for you, whatever you're doing. So keep it up. That's really cool to hear that, that consistent.
Totally. I said Chuck is here.
Hey Chuck, what's up? And for those of you again just tuning in, we have our regular peeps that we always, give a shout out to and say hello to. And we're talking about spirituality. Let us know what you're currently doing, what's worked for you now, what's worked for you before. Let me see. I am going through the poll answers to
There
see.
was one in the poll that I wanted to read because it was very interesting.
Go for it.
Paula says she spends time at a small chapel built in the 1800s and a cemetery.
Wait, what? I got the chapel and the what? What about the cemetery?
She spends time at a small chapel built in the I'm assuming it's like a chapel and a cemetery.
Yeah.
I think that's pretty interesting.
That is interesting. I mean, I don't know. Like maybe she has like loved ones, or like
yeah.
Maybe very, but even though, like, I'd have to think that's a very Zen place. I mean, but if it's a chapel, most likely they do have like some sort of like burial sites nearby from the 1800s because they didn't, they probably buried them close by, no?
Yeah. I just thought that was a really interesting one.
Yeah, for sure. That's why I love like reading this because people like come from so many different backgrounds, have so many different things that they do. And again, that they've adapted like the principles or like the suggestions to suit them and it's working. And I think that's great.
Yeah. And this person says, Hector, I love the cultural difference between American and Hispanic culture. Spirituality isn't better or worse on either, just more aggressive in the Hispanic one.
Yes. I mean, we are like, hardcore Catholics. And I know, my mom, like as I was a kid, she put me through, I was baptized. I did my first communion. Like I did everything except for like my confirmation, which comes around when you're like 15. And at that time I was like already, being typical teenager that didn't want to do anything my mom wanted me to do, but so I didn't go through with that. But yeah, no, they're definitely like you have to go to church every Sunday and and I pulled away. Like for me, spiritually, like I needed more. So like, after, I left home and was out on my own, I explored spirituality and different religions, like to see what else was out there. But I do love still, like this weekend, I have a baptism to go to and they're going to have like mass, before the baptism at the church. Or I could go to the person's house, but I sort of want to go to mass. Like, I just think, so even though that's like, not something I do in a regular, like I want to go back this Sunday and like just go to mass because it does remind me of like my beginnings.
Right. No, your roots. I mean, where you, and that's, I mean, I'm not Hispanic, but.
No.
But, like I grew up in a church and sometimes I go to church too. I mean,
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, because that's for me. That's like what a part of my spirituality is, I guess, because that's how I grew up. I mean, I think in some ways we stay rooted in that, but I know for me, I kind of altered a little bit.
Well, I want to know from Hector. Hector, are you still going to church, like Catholic church or whatever church you grew up in, and like what are you currently doing that's working for you? Like, I'm just curious if you're still going to sort of the same church. Okay, let's see what else is going on.
Ashley says, this is a question. How does it make you feel when you put down on paper something you want to do and then you don't complete it? Like you mentioned with yoga, I feel defeated. I agree with you. Self-care kind of gets put on the back burner, looking for suggestions to get motivation.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think I read this article in the New York Times this week, and I know that sounds like but like it talks about procrastination and how and I love this definition of procrastination because it's like the first time that somebody nailed like why we procrastinate. And it's not necessarily about the task. And because the thing about procrastination is that we put something off and then because we're thinking of our like immediate needs because we somehow like don't want to do that task. We associated like a negative emotion around that task and we don't want to do it. And then we feel worse on top and like we feel guilt that we didn't do it. So I think you're going through exactly what I'm going through, which is like, oh, I didn't do yoga the whole week. So now not only did I not do yoga, but now I feel guilty. So it's like a double negative. So it's like stacked on top. So the article went on to explain that sort of what you need to do is sort of not focus. Again, it goes back to like the short-term gain and long-term gain, and sort of shift your attitude around like what emotions you have tied into, like what have you said about, you know, those tasks that are preventing you from doing it. So for example, like yoga for me, it's like, I don't want to get up. Like, I don't want to move right now. You know, I just want to chill. And I think that that's going to tire me out, you know, and I have like those sort of like thoughts associated with that. So I somehow need to like flip those thoughts and see if that works. But the motivation is just, you know, I'm sort of in the same boat. So I'm a work in progress, just like you. But what I'm going to try is, again, focusing like what negative emotions have I told myself, or what feelings do I have about this specific task that are keeping me from doing it? Like, what am I telling myself about that? And do I need to change what I'm telling myself? And what am I going to change that to? You know, and see if that works and see if that can yield some different results, because what I'm doing right now is not working. And it's doing things the same way over and over again and not getting any different results. Like whatever I'm doing is not working. So I need to try something new.
No, I love that. I want to read that article.
I'll send it to you.
I mean, I really agree with you. I mean, I think certain things that don't feel good or we put off, we develop certain belief systems and value systems around. So, you know, like finally when the pain does get great enough, you know, there's that saying that like, we'll finally make a change, right?
Yeah.
But until we actually experience it and have it, you know, pay off in the end, then that's when we'll change our thinking about it.
Yeah.
Hector commented back.
Oh, what did he say?
He says he doesn't do it on a regular basis, but he has the need to go back because I feel like I am betraying my family tradition. As I grow in recovery as a counselor, I know God can manifest anywhere from my bathroom or church.
No, that's true. And I hear that. And I think family tradition is beautiful. And I think like it's so important that like we keep that going and that we pass that on to the next generation, you know, no matter where you're from. I think whatever traditions you have with your family, I think that that's so important to keep alive and to keep going. I think that, you know, if they start to get too much or they're taking a toll, then you need to figure out, you know, whether or not that's working for you. But like, it sounds like you have a good balance going on where, you know, like, hey, if I can't make it to church this week, it's not like I'm going to be godless or whatever, you know, like you're not going to, because you're aware that God is with you no matter like where you go. Like it's not necessarily just in church, but I love that you're still showing up for your family because that's probably really important to them. So I love that. That's awesome.
Geraldine is here.
Hey.
He has 131 days today.
Congratulations. That's awesome.
It's been a long time.
Yeah.
And Sherry says she's flat ass broke and a total introvert. So she finds ways at home to stay spiritual, like time with her pets. She has 12. Reading and meditation and music, low impact exercise, and of course meetings and being of service and in and out of the program. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that that's the awesome thing about, you know, spirituality is that a lot of it, especially like, you know, in recovery, like a lot of it is just stuff you do at home. It doesn't cost much money. You know, it doesn't cost any, like to meditate at home, that's free. And like, again, the benefits you can have from that, like if you do it so many days in a row or just like reading or, you know, doing whatever, like, you know, it doesn't cost much and it can have like such a positive impact. So that's awesome.
What else does the poll say?
So in the poll, I'm seeing a lot of the same things, and that's why I haven't been interjecting. I mean, a lot of people are just definitely, you know, praying and meditating and, you know, doing their daily readings every morning. And I just think it's great that that is like working for so many people. If gratitude lists also get brought up, a lot of people still like keep a gratitude practice, which I think, you know, it's so like underrated, like just the benefits of like gratitude. And I know we've talked about it before, and it's something that I don't do as often as I should, even though like I have this whole like gratitude book, whatever, that I could be writing in and doing like daily lists. And like, I want to start doing that. But again, another thing that I like always put off doing, like by the time I go to bed, I'm like, oh, I'm too tired to like fill it out. And yet I know again, that if I were to take the time to do it, I would feel so much better.
Yeah, no, I think gratitude lists can be so powerful and so important. I mean, especially, I can think and make a mental checklist in my head, like, oh yeah, I'm grateful for, waking up this morning, or, being sober today. But I think when we write it down, we get another perspective, and it just kind of puts it in concrete instead of like just in our head.
Yeah, for sure.
Rhiannon. Hi, Rhiannon. She says, hello, ladies. She's super late, but she's here.
We're glad you're here. Thank you for joining.
Karen says, I don't think it is stronger with one culture or another. She grew up Lutheran in her family with Norwegian roots. Yeah, I mean, I think it's, you, Veronica, grew up in like a strict Hispanic religious culture, and that's what you knew, and so like now you're out of that, and so you consider it strict, I guess. And for me, it was a little strict maybe, but anyway, I'm just going off on a tangent here. So go ahead, Veronica.
So people here are saying a lot of empathy is coming up and people practicing empathy. And I hope like people don't have to practice empathy, and I hope that's just something they have. But I mean, is there like, have you heard of something like an empathy practice or something specific?
I don't think so.
That we're referring to? Okay, cool. I think that's good that they're like aware of that, and that's like maybe it's like some sort of like mindfulness practice that they're doing and like doing certain things. Okay.
But I mean, I would just hope that like people have empathy.
Okay, people again, just like reading and a lot of meditation still coming up. And a lot of like nature stuff too. Like some people, don't have a higher power and they make nature their higher power. They don't believe in God and they make that. So they spend time out in nature, and that's what they do for their spirituality, which I think is so therapeutic. I know like, I've read like in different articles, like if you're super busy or just like taking the time, if you're like working in an office and you're like stuck in your office, to take a moment to go downstairs and go outside and just like, or even like look out of the window and then just look at trees, and just looking at nature will like reset your brain, kind of thing. Like if you work in front of a computer. So like nature is just so powerful.
Oh, I totally agree with you. And, I think it's just important setting that time of day to do whatever you need to do to gain that foundation of whatever it is that you're looking for. Let's see.
And there's some people too saying like helping other people. That's sort of their spiritual practice, doing things to help, being of service and doing things for others and working with others. So that's awesome too. I mean, that is so helpful, like to get out of your own head to sort of like do service work, and just even, if it's like at a meeting, making the coffee, or, volunteering at a shelter, like it's such a great tool.
There was someone that talked about service in here. It was Eileen. She has 30 years. She says she also helps high-risk kids at church weekly, many of whom parents use or drink. She says she tries to love kids. They teach spiritual lessons and hope to prevent the cycle from repeating. I'm assuming with their parents.
That's good.
Yeah. No, I mean, definitely service work does get us out of ourselves. And, I think spirituality, if we are being self-centered, spirituality is one thing to get us out of that,
Yeah.
From thinking about ourselves.
So what do you do like when you have a week where you're not really like doing the things that you normally do? How do you get back in? What do you usually do?
I typically go sit at the beach late at night, and either like I write in my phone, because if it's dark, I just like journal in my phone, or I like have YouTube on my TV, so I like turn on spiritual music or meditation while I'm working. And while I'm working. I mean, that's really bad, but like,
that is like the opposite of meditation.
I know, but like, I think like it's subconsciously like kind of gets me back in a groove.
That's good.
What I don't know. What do you do?
I mean, I'm trying to get back in right now, so I will tell you in another week what worked. But I don't know. I just think small steps, and I think we need to like not be so hard on ourselves and not put so much pressure on ourselves, and like know that we're like doing the best we can, you know? Because like I know like wow, I may be like not doing so great on this area, and I'm also like doing really good in this other area, you know? So like we can't be like really, you know, that hard on ourselves. It's like we just have to keep trying and like not give up, right? So like, and don't like create like a super like long list of things to do because then you'll never want to do them. So like just try to keep it simple. Like I think maybe I'm gonna do like a gratitude list after this and do like a brief one. And yeah, I would just say like start small, whether you just write a gratitude list or you do like a daily reading in the morning, just do that.
Yeah. Jeff is here. He says, hello, ladies. I just got back from my meeting. There was a great speaker. It's been a hard week, but that's to be expected. Jeff was here last week, and I just want to say I think Jeff is the one that was.
I remember Jeff. Jeff, I'm so glad to have you back. Thank you for checking back in. And yeah, I mean, it's hard, you know, and I think like whether you're early in recovery, you're not, like it's just a tough time for a lot of people. It's just a lot going on in people's lives. And you know, like, yeah, it's been a tough week for a lot of people. So we're glad you made it and we're glad you're doing great.
Yeah.
Now you got to come back next week.
We expect you here next week too.
Yeah. And then you'll put a few weeks together.
Exactly. What else, Veronica?
That's it. You know, does anybody else have anything else in the comments that they said about getting back in? Any other tips? We're just wrapping it up.
Yeah. Geraldine says journals and reading. Rhiannon has 2 years on August 21st.
Yeah.
Julie says your best changes through your life. Love yourself through less productive times, baby steps.
Yes. I like that advice.
Christopher is a recovering Catholic who has found peace of mind at the temples and Hacienda Heights in SoCal.
Yeah, I feel that. I understand that.
Yeah, SoCal, what? Uh-huh. Okay. Jeff says this is a tough subject for him. So I think it's a tough subject for a lot of people.
Yeah, no, it's not easy. It's not a very like, and again, when people get into recovery and they find out that they sort of have to like get spiritual or like figure out who God is for them, like there's a lot of resistance from a lot of people. And there's a lot of people who even turn away from like the traditional 12 steps because of, you know, spirituality or because of religion. You know, they just don't, that's not their jam, you know, so it's not easy. And a lot of people struggle with it and that's okay. But I mean, I know people have, you know, changed the word God for something else. Like there's so many ways to go around, you know, obstacles that you're having. But as long as just maintain your support, Jeff, like, I don't know, like if you have a sponsor yet, or if you're working with anybody, or if you have a support system, but hopefully you do, and you can reach out to them and work through any challenges that you're facing this week.
Yeah. And I tell you, this is a good topic for me this week because someone just gave like, this has been sitting on my table and I like really need to start reading it.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. So I don't know. I just think it's a good topic. Anyway,
cool. Well, I think we've gone through, you know, a few of the answers and a few of the tips. I hope some of you found this helpful. Let us know if there are any other additional topics you do want to talk about. And we do have something that we do want to like bring up really soon. So if you are looking for ways to improve your spiritual practice and additional support, we are going to be talking about Sobriety Engine, which is something that we mentioned before, and you've probably seen it in a couple of captions. We've been promoting it low key, but it's something really awesome that we have put together for all of you guys. So we'll be talking about that, I think, next week, more in depth, but stay tuned for that. And let us know if there's any other additional topics you want to cover, or any guests you'd like to see on the show.
Well, we're glad everyone was here, and we will see you next week.
Yes, please come back next week. We'll see you then. Bye, guys.
Bye.